Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely fascinating overlap between science and faith. We're going to unpack some source material that makes a pretty bold claim that biblical forgiveness actually acts as a literal biological reset for your body and your nervous system. Seriously, if you've ever had that gut feeling that holding onto a grudge was physically making you sick, well, the research we're looking at today suggests you are absolutely spot on. The sources we're exploring speak directly to those of you who might be watching this right now feeling just completely stuck. Maybe you've tried it all, the incredibly strict diets, the expensive mold remediations, endless therapies, and yet you still feel biologically trapped in this cycle of physical pain and fatigue. Well, the text suggests you might be missing a completely hidden yet vital piece of the puzzle.
Section 1. Stuck in chronic recovery, the hidden spaces of trauma.
Section 2. The cell danger response, the biology of bitterness. Okay, to really understand this, the text points us to a specific biological mechanism. It's called the cell danger response. And this actually explains how trauma gets stored so deeply in the hidden physical spaces of our anatomy, places like your fascia or your lymphatic system. When you experience massive emotional overwhelm or when you hold on to deep resentment, it acts as a very real biological trigger. Your cells literally change what they're doing. They hit the brakes on their normal growth and repair, and instead they mount a fierce defense against what they perceive as a threat. And that traps your entire body in a constant, relentless survival mode where your cells basically just freeze. And that leads to this profound realization from the sources. Bitterness isn't just some abstract spiritual burden, it is a literal biological poison. The material argues that emotional trauma and unforgiveness basically keep your internal alarm bells ringing nonstop, which constantly elevates your cortisol. And over time, chronic cortisol becomes highly neurotoxic. It disrupts your immune system, it clogs up your lymphatic system, it's literally poisoning your cellular health from the inside out. Section 3. Neuroscience of heart-level forgiveness. A paradigm shift. The research lays out a brilliant, stark contrast between these two states of being. On one hand, the text argues that choosing bitterness locks you into that neurotoxic survival mode, constantly fueling the cell danger response. But on the flip side, choosing forgiveness physically signals a state of absolute safety to your nervous system. It forces your biology out of defense and into growth mode. And researchers say this leads to actual structural changes in your brain. Because as the text highlights, forgiveness is deeply, measurably anatomical. There is a specific part of your brain called the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. The research shows that when you engage in the act of forgiveness, this exact area activates and physically regulates your amygdala, which is your brain's primary threat detector. By doing this, it actively, mechanically shuts down your threat response. So here is the absolute crucial point. Biblical heart-level forgiveness is not just an emotional choice, and it's certainly not just a nice, polite, moral idea. It's an incredibly effective mind control strategy. By consciously making the choice to forgive, you are kicking off a literal mechanical flush for toxic stress. You are clearing out the heavy neurochemical buildup of resentment and hitting a hard reset on your nervous system. We see this amazing parallel in the source material, too. The concept of renewing the mind, which is so deeply rooted in Christian scripture, is presented here as the exact biological equivalent of what neuroscientists call neuroplasticity. Because your brain has this phenomenal ability to reorganize its own structure in response to new experiences, the text emphasizes that you are absolutely not a prisoner to a stressed-out biological script. Your biology is highly, highly programmable. Section 4. Rituals to reset your system. Practical morning habits. So, how do we actually apply this? The sources outline a surprisingly simple 3-step morning routine. Step 1 is to own your morning window. First thing when you wake up, your brain is at its absolute most programmable. So the advice here is clear. Do not grab your phone and immediately trigger a stress response. Step 2 is practicing biblical silence. The text claims that just 5 minutes of total, uninterrupted stillness profoundly calms the nervous system. And then step 3, use vocal declaration. Let's look a little closer at that third step. The research notes something fascinating. Your subconscious is constantly listening to the sound of your own voice. By actually declaring forgiveness out loud, verbally, you're physically building new neural pathways. The sources suggest that repeatedly using vocal declaration genuinely promotes the physical growth of dendritic spines on your neurons, literally strengthening the physical pathways in your brain meant for emotional regulation. Section 5, the 21-day scripture rewire, aligning biology with the Word. This is exactly where the text's 21-day routine comes into play. Since your subconscious controls a whopping 95% of your biology and your behavior, this protocol intentionally targets that highly programmable morning window we just talked about. By embracing stillness and literally speaking out loud to that mountain of resentment, the author argues you are actively rewiring your internal system. It's about taking principles, like those found in Matthew 18, and using them not just as spiritual guidance, but as a daily, tangible clinical prescription for your cellular health. Ultimately, the overarching thesis of all these sources is a massive message of hope, especially for anyone who feels stuck in an endless loop of chronic illness. The material suggests that your season of survival absolutely does not have to be permanent. It argues that you have the very real power to actively program an epigenetic reset. By choosing to forgive from the heart, the text claims you are sending a signal to every single cell in your body that it is safe to exit the danger response and finally begin to heal. So I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought based on today's research. Are you ready to stop letting toxic thoughts hold you captive and start mastering the strategies that can physically rewrite your biology? The incredible intersection of faith and neuroscience that we've explored today suggests that the power to heal might just be built right into your very design. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this knowledge gives you a fresh, empowering perspective on growth and profound peace.
So thanks for joining us on Bible Brain Connections. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, click on the next video, or check out our video playlist so you can learn more about these brilliant connections between science and scripture. Also leave a comment below, we would love to hear from you. So, goodbye for now, and we'll see you in the next video.